Hi everyone, welcome to Helppo. Today we'll be showing you how to pass the IELTS General Task 1. The IELTS General Training Exam is mostly for applicants who want to live or work abroad in an English-speaking country. In this exam, you will be given the IELTS General Writing Task 1. This portion of the exam is going to test your English skills by prompting you to write a letter. I'm Parker Barasa, your tutor for today. So let's get started. The contents of your letter will vary, but we can put the writing prompts into one of three categories: informal, semi-formal, and formal. Today we're going to talk about each of these writing styles one by one. Before we get into that though, let's go over a few basic writing tips that will apply to most of your letters, whether it be informal, semi-formal, or formal. First things first, we want to make sure we know how to properly lay out a letter. For our general task letter, we'll go straight to the salutation. Depending on the formality of the letter, you'll probably start it with "to whom it may concern," or "dear," and then your recipient's name. After your salutation, you'll start the body or the main portion of your letter. Finally, you'll add the complimentary close, which would normally be something like "sincerely" or "best regards." When writing a letter, you'll also be graded on your formatting. Please remember these principles when writing your letter. Make sure your letter looks clean by leaving a blank line or double space in between paragraphs. When starting a new paragraph, the first line should have an indent. And mind your punctuation and spelling. Points will be deducted for spelling mistakes. And start new sentences with a capital letter and leave a little bit of space after periods before starting the next sentence. Think of it like pressing the space bar on your keyboard twice. You can organize your letter into 4 parts, which may vary in length depending on the tone of the letter you're going for. First of all, the introduction. Before getting into the meat of your letter and the real purpose of writing it, you want to preface it with an introduction. This could be how you know the person, small talk like "how have you been," and stating your relationship to the person or company. The next one is the problem or situation. After you get the pleasantries out of the way, it's best to state the problem you need to solve or the situation you're in. After that, we have the solution or action. Now that we've stated the problem, you can propose to your reader the possible actions or solutions to your dilemma. Finally, the conclusion. Here you would normally thank your reader for reading, wish them well, or request that they respond within a certain time. Basically, your letter should include 3 parts: explaining your problem or request, why it is urgent or what needs to be done, and finally, possible solutions. Now let's talk a little bit about how we can write our informal, semi-formal, or formal letters. Informal letters are letters written to your friends, family, or personal acquaintances. Take for example this prompt. Write a letter to your friend or family to describe an accident that has happened to you and ask for help. Of course, when talking to your friends or family, you wouldn't call them Mr. or Mrs., or begin your letter with something as aloof as "to whom it may concern." Generally, you would start it with "dear blank," or even something as casual as "hi blank." Your introduction might start off with some words that indicate familiarity. For example, "Hi June, how have you been? I hope all is well with you and your wife." You can start by stating the purpose of your letter. You can introduce it with a short phrase like, "I wanted to write to you because I broke my leg in yoga class and I've been in the hospital for a few days." After your short introduction, you can state your dilemma. In this case, you were in an accident, so you might make a request like this. "I'm okay for the most part, but while I'm healing, the doctors say I'll be stuck here for at least another week. Can I ask you a big favor? Glenn has been really busy at work and with the kids and visiting me here. So we've stated our problem. The husband is busy and we could use some help." Now, let's state the possible solution or request to our reader. "He's been working so hard recently and rarely gets time to relax. If it's okay, would you be able to pick up our kids from school and let them stay at your house for an hour or two, since they're in the same class as your kids? Glenn will be able to pick them up on his way to visit me." Of course, since we're writing to our friends and family, we want to make sure it stays casual, but still polite and warm. That's where our conclusion comes in. I know it's a lot to ask, but I would really appreciate it if you could do this for us. Once I get out, hopefully we can get together for a nice dinner. Our treat. Then of course we add our closing. Something casual like "thanks a bunch," or "your friend and neighbor, Clara." Semi-formal letters are directed to people you may be acquainted with but still need to show a measure of familiarity towards. These are people like your boss, landlord, or professor. Here's an example of a prompt for a semi-formal letter. Last year, you attended a presentation skill course at Sydney College of Australia. Your new employer has asked you to provide copies of your reports and assignments as quickly as possible. Write to the director of the school and request these documents. In this case, you wouldn't start your letter with "Hi" or even use your recipient's first name. Instead, you would most likely write "Dear" and address your recipient by Mr., Miss, or Mrs. A little side note, by the way, you write Miss if you're writing to an unmarried woman and Mrs. to a married woman. If you're not sure whether your recipient is married or not, it's best just to use Miss. For a semi-formal letter, it's usually good to get right to the point of why you're writing. You can use phrases such as "I'm writing to request your help" or "I'm writing to inform you." Now you can begin with a short introduction of yourself, likely where your reader may know you from or what department or class you're from. My name is Max Powers, student ID 1502347. I graduated from Sydney College of Australia with a bachelor's degree in literature. Last year I took a presentation skill course. My instructors were Mrs. Cotton and Mr. Sandoval. In the next paragraph, we can start our request. You can add a little background and even share a little bit about yourself. But remember, this is a semi-formal letter. You still want to maintain a measure of politeness to your writing. I am about to start work at a publishing company, and they are requesting information regarding that presentation skill course. Unfortunately, all of my copies were lost in a flood last year, and I cannot produce them at the moment. Therefore, I would be very grateful if you could send me copies of the course outline, the written assignments, and the final report as soon as possible. In your last paragraph, you can state something you can do on your end or an action you can take. I would be happy to reimburse any shipping costs you may incur. And of course, we want to thank them for their cooperation. Thank you so much in advance for fulfilling my request. Please let me know if there is anything I could do to make this easier for you. Finally, we would normally close with the word "sincerely." Formal letters are generally directed to companies, potential employers, or making a complaint or suggestion to a business. For example, if you're applying to a new job or asking for a refund on a purchase you made, you would normally speak more politely to make a good impression. Let's use one of these examples in our next prompt. You are looking for a part-time job. Write a letter to an employment agency. In your letter, introduce yourself, explain what sort of job you would like, and say what experience and skills you have. As you can see, this prompt lays out the structure of your letter quite nicely. We can dedicate one paragraph to each of those bullet points. Remember to read your prompt carefully. It may provide clues on how to lay out your letter. Since we have no idea who will be reading our letter, we wouldn't put a name in our salutation. Instead, we might start off with something like "Dear Sir" or "Madam," or "To whom it may concern." In our introduction, of course, we're going to say a little bit about ourselves. In this case, we want to give some information about our educational background and details that may be relevant to the job we would like. My name is Alan Chai. I just graduated cum laude from UC Santa Cruz with a bachelor's in computer science. I am bilingual in English and Mandarin. I am currently searching for a part-time job and would be grateful for your assistance. Now, in the second paragraph, it says to explain what sort of job we would like. As we stated in our last paragraph, you graduated with a bachelor's in computer science and speak 2 languages. You can tie your second paragraph to your first, like this. I am looking to get into the IT field, so if you have any jobs that involve computers, I would be willing to apply there. As mentioned earlier, I also speak Mandarin, so I can do translation work too, if any companies need manuals translated into English or Mandarin. I normally do volunteer work in the morning, so I would prefer shifts in the afternoon or evening. While in college, I worked for a little bit in a small business doing data entry and some tech support work. I've also worked in a coffee shop, so I would say my people skills are very good. Our closing remarks would normally be something like, "Thank you for taking the time to read this letter," or "I look forward to your response." Now, you will be graded on 4 criteria: task achievement, coherence, lexical resource, and grammar range and accuracy. There it is! We've learned how to write 3 types of letters you may see on your IELTS General Task 1. If you found this video helpful, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, you can watch this video again and pause to take notes. The best way to prepare for this part of your IELTS exam, of course, is practice, practice, practice. Try looking up different prompts and writing letters based on them. And for an extra boost, you can schedule a one-on-one lesson with Helppo. This video is sponsored by Helppo. Helppo is an online tutoring platform connecting students across the world to a quality learning experience 24/7. If you need help prepping for the ACT, SAT, HKDSE, or IELTS and others, consider making an appointment at www.hihelppo.com. Links to everything are below. Thanks for watching.